What's up, everybody? It's Joe La Puma. You were watching the Complex Sneakers Podcast. As always, I'm with my two guys. First off, to my right, Mr. Matt Welty.
Thanksgiving week.
Yes, Thanksgiving week. Just a little peek behind the curtain. But first, Mr. Brendan Dunne.
Yeah, Thanksgiving week, but pretend, because we always like to give the PSA just in case we're a little off sync on the news or what's really happening in sneakers, but we're shooting this right before we head to Complex Con. We're in the midst of a marathon of like a shoot every other day. I think I counted like 7 shoots or appearances in 14 days, so it really never stops around
You
here.
guys were shooting yesterday.
We're always shooting. Everybody.
You guys were shooting yesterday. I was coming home from a shoot.
Yeah.
Atlanta, very
Get on the
bumpy
flight.
flight. Coffee went all over.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah,
Wait.
I have the picture. Coffee went all over.
I mean, I assume when you're in first class that they come with a new pair of trousers for you or something.
I didn't get it on my clothes. I didn't get on my clothes. The coffee though, I had the whole all
Didn't
over.
deny that he was in
All
first
over.
class. He heard.
all over.
He sits in the portion of the plane where they have like the private showers where you can just go.
Not true. That's not true. The coffee was all over, and coffee spills no matter where you are on the plane. The same.
Well, we're sorry.
Did it get on the shoes or no?
No, not on the shoes.
Okay, because I
was
if
holding
it did,
it,
I
though.
would get on one knee and buff them out.
Yeah, you said you wouldn't. So,
What's your go-to travel shoe lately, Joe?
So I've told him. I don't know if he remembers this convo, but like where I was wearing the beat up CDG Air Max 95s,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had a revelation. I want to, even for like travel shoes, I want to wear like good ones the whole trip.
Yeah.
Whether I'm on the plane, in the airport.
He told, what was the exact? No, I do remember this because the exact
was like,
quote you
if
told me,
I'm-
I'm done wearing mid sneakers.
Yeah, no, it just beat up. I was
He
like,
said,
you know,
I'm done wearing mid sneakers.
So, what was I wearing? Yesterday? Let me think. So I've been wearing the Lorenz CDG tie-dye. Oh no, the Lorenz CDG Sunders, the first color, the like bluish, pinkish, purple ones. But like I said, I don't want to be like in a lobby and it's like the shoes, the laces.
If you're in first class and your sneakers are mid,
the shoes, I don't want to be in like a hotel lobby asking for like the key card to be like fixed or whatever in some not mid shoes, beat up shoes. So I've been
lobby
trying
of the
to
Aria it just doesn't make sense.
trying to step it up because I was at a party. I was at a 40th surprise birthday party, right? For
Can we say for who?
Matt Vinci. You met him. You actually met him at Complex
I met him
Con.
at Complex Con. He got the custom Air Force Ones that.
Never made it home. Virgil had the
Yeah.
Let me tell you, one of the
Complex
worst designs
Con.
I've ever seen in my life. He did the custom, all like the.
One of the best Nike boosts at Complex Con ever, though.
Yet also he came up on the original off-white.
Complex Con
And like
Air Force One.
Listen, he wore them to hell, but he did come up on them. But anyway, it was his 40th surprise birthday, and his uncle came in the white and green LV Air Force Ones.
No.
Just stunt, like, but not to stunt. Just like, yeah, I have them. I'm
Very
wearing
casual.
them.
Which is an even bigger stunt.
But it was just like, you know,
He inspired you.
just to like wear a little the CDGs I love, obviously. And if I'm going like to the grocery or like the deli downstairs from the apartment, sure, but like not for a period of time. I'm gonna try to,
Okay, we support you, King.
That's it.
It's just funny because you mentioned, you say, in first class with mid sneakers, but I feel like a lot of people. No.
Look on
You
your
don't want
face.
to be like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you go to first class, you see a lot of people up there. You may see a lot of mid sneakers.
Ons.
I don't really look. I'm focused on
hokas.
getting there.
Go to the shoot.
Go to the hotel. Go to Gus's in Atlanta. Shouts to Gus's.
What's that?
Fried chicken. Oh man, amazing. Don't worry, I have a picture. We'll put it in.
Put the picture.
And
in.
I have the picture of the coffee spilt that we'll probably put in too. Because I document all this stuff just for this.
Oh, is there anything happening in the world of sneakers that's worth touching on? There's a
Odell
few little
Beckham
bits.
Jr.
Odell.
Wow, the Nike lawsuit.
Little late, but as you guys know that we're taping this early.
A little late, but hopefully you already read the full breakdown.
This
on
guy was digging the
Anytime
documents just like he
there's
does.
a new lawsuit,
He gets the little, what's it called? The monocle? What is it?
Yeah, it's the monocle monopoly, man.
Yeah,
I got the mustache for it.
Exactly.
The mustache starts twitching. And
Yeah.
Just going through. I was in Gus's when you were discussing that. I was actually in Gus's, so.
Always in Gus's.
Yeah, I was in Gus's. And
It's a weird lawsuit, I gotta say. I'm looking forward to what Nike says back because it seems like the thing that it kind of hinges on. And again, please go to Complex and read the full breakdown. Odell Beckham Jr. is suing his former footwear sponsor Nike for $20 million. He says he suffered damages. They withheld some payments, and that basically they intentionally depressed the sales of his shoes so he couldn't meet the thresholds to get extensions. And basically, they say that Nike made an error in the contract, and the contract was wrong. But it's like, if you still signed the contract, isn't that the contract? Because Adidas had offered Odell Beckham Jr. in 2017 this deal that they say is worth $47 million, and basically Nike had the first right of refusal, so they give Nike 10 days to match, and Nike was supposed to explicitly match the terms of the deal. And there's a dispute from Odell's team that Nike is not matching this one part of the deal about the royalties, where this is a very convoluted explanation, and it's a complicated thing. They're saying that Nike is treating the thresholds that he needs to meet in order to get the guaranteed extensions differently than they had originally agreed to, so that Nike is not extending the options on the extra 3 years in the deal. And
in a lot of everything that happened kind of centers around the incident when he goes to the Rams. He was wearing custom gloves.
Because he was wearing chrome heart gloves.
Yeah. He had a pair of cleats that were made to look like a pair of black Air Force Ones.
Right.
Nike said that he violated his contract by not wearing the right product on the field.
Yeah. But the interesting thing, though, is that is actually not like the center of it. Oh. That stuff happened after they were in disputes about the contract, and after it was starting to break down already. And then his team is saying, like, after that, Nike started inventing these violations and withholding an extra $2 million in payment for saying, yeah, you broke the rules around what you can wear.
But it's just crazy because he's kind of said that he had claim that when he went from the Browns to the Rams, that Nike hadn't given him product that he could actually wear for the new team, which doesn't like.
How do you not have that ready?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
It doesn't make sense to me. How would you not have a Rams colored pair of cleats ready to go for Odell Beckham Jr., given that you signed this guy to a gigantic deal? That's one of the cool things, too, is that he includes in the lawsuit this thing marked at the top, confidential summary of the terms of the deal.
I remember that day when there was rumors in the morning that, like, he was leaving Nike. And
you were in Gus's?
Huh?
Were you in Gus's?
Wasn't at Gus's. I was actually at Shake Shack. I was. I know it's like not every time breaking news I'm at these food places, but I remember that day. For some reason, I was at Shake Shack, 23rd Street. I remember just like there was rumors like he's leaving Nike or Nike.
And he was flirting with Adidas at the time. Remember, didn't Victor Cruz tell us that he was wearing Yeezys around the Giants facility?
But there was pictures of him wearing Yeezys, like I think on a Monday Night Football spot or something like that. And I just then remember being like, getting a call and being like, Nike matched. And it was like in the morning there was rumors, and then it was like, what's happening? And then at night it was like Nike matched, and then sure enough, so that's interesting. Here's the thing, just like his free agency now, where there's a bunch of teams interested in him, take this lawsuit aside, I think he could go anywhere.
In terms of sneaker brands?
Still.
I'm just like surprised that let's be blunt, right? How bad of product Nike gave him over the years.
I don't think he had many memorable shoes,
He did like those 720s. He did those like the first one was like that taxi cab New York City Air Force One when he was still with the Giants. He had the Air Max 720, which was called the Young King of the Drip.
Okay.
That was the official name of the shoe.
The Air Force One sold out on Network though.
With the buckle on it.
I did my only appearance on Network.
There was one colorway of that shoe. I don't
He's
like
getting 5% royalties on all those.
I don't like the Air Max 720 anyways, but
even though I appeared in a promo for it.
Yeah. There was one colorway of that shoe that I randomly actually really liked. It was like a tan gray, it was tan gray and like a red hit on it. It almost looked like a Mars Yard esque colorway. It wasn't meant to be, but I
vaguely remember that.
But there was the one that was almost like the almost like a Coogee sweater. There was like that pink pair with like the crazy pattern on it. He did an LSU pair that I think Derek Curry had told us they sold like exclusively at Sneaker Politics at the time. But there really wasn't like, if Odell Beckham's the most stylish person in the NFL and he's a sneakerhead,
how do you not have?
And he has these like cleats that Nike created or
the cleats were fire though.
The up-tempo inspired cleats.
Those things were okay.
How do you not have like OBJ? Some sort of like product that's like a line or a connector through all of that, and you just make this product that it didn't even feel like it was marketed towards the quote unquote sneakerhead demographic.
Mm-hmm. And that's the interesting thing too. One of his issues that is in the lawsuit and the complaint is that he says Nike didn't follow through on creating all the product for him that it was supposed to. There's supposed to be a kids line, running line,
fitness.
and also his legal team is saying that toward the end of the deal that Nike intentionally was making way less product in order for him to not hit these thresholds that he had to hit in terms of sales in order to get extra millions of dollars on the deal.
Hypothetically, is there a chance too that maybe the product wasn't selling well and then maybe Nike just made less of it? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, he had those injuries, right? The ACL injury, that you got to factor that into how much you're going to market and spend on an endorser.
Interesting tidbit too that I had, I think we talked about it on Full Size Run, but had looked up is that I didn't realize that he had actually in his last year with the Rams had opted to get paid in Bitcoin.
Yes.
Right.
And then when the Bitcoin
saw that
crashed, his contract went to like he only made $30,000 that year.
He's
tough. He's still financially well, but
he's going to start somewhere. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of crypto assets and things like that, Nike's .swoosh Metaverse.
Yes.
I can't imagine us as a group are super. I know Welty's not going to.
Well, you got the exclusive story on it.
I would say exclusive,
but you got a early.
Some of these people. Can I just go on a quick rant for 17 seconds?
Go.
Like all caps exclusive in a headline, or like all caps breaking in a tweet, like. That's just not necessary. Just publish the story just write the headline without the like.
While we're on the Odell tip, he scores the touchdown. He scores the touchdown. He has the ball. He gives it right to the ref. No dancing.
You know what I mean?
That's your style?
I have to admit, I definitely did used to do that back in the day, like 2017 or something like that. If like Nike gave you like a first something,
we've matured beyond that because you know what. If we wanted to, we could put the exclusive on every store.
I think we did exclusive.
No, cut that part out.
Exclusive. It was when we actually did have the exclusive on it. It was the first look at Victor Cruz's Trainer Cruz. I think I put exclusive in the
Adam Caparell, right?
There we go.
Yeah, me and Adam Caparell went to Giant Stadium, shot with Vic.
There we go. Okay, so sorry, that was all segging into Nike's .swoosh new Metaverse community, quote unquote. I think you got to be skeptical anytime a brand is talking about a community. Their new home for virtual product. I'm interested in it. I have never invested in, I don't own any virtual items of any sort, but they're talking about the utility that there could be around these items in the future, whether it's gaining access to an event or getting a pre-order for a shoe or helping Nike determine what a virtual item looks like, and maybe they'll sell that virtual item and you could get royalties. So I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there. They're being kind of like secretive right now about what it's all going to look like, but
I know you're not into it, but when you first even saw the product, what was your thoughts on all of the artifact Nike stuff?
I mean, the actual artifact Nike shoes I don't like at all. And I'm hopeful that the stuff that comes from Nike's .swoosh program, and this is all part of Nike Virtual Studios, this new division they created, I'm hoping that this is a little bit more traditional in terms of like what I like from Nike sportswear. Artifact, they are kind of advising on these projects or helping out because Nike acquired this NFT brand Artifact, and they're giving them input on how to do this stuff, but it's a separate thing within Nike of their virtual items. So
because I know there was one, just like, I don't want to give them too much credit on this, but Franelations had posted a shoe. I know everyone's like, he's an NFT sage, and I don't know.
You don't care.
I don't care. With all due respect, Fran.
Yes.
I'm still waiting for my consultation though at the Mercer.
I think you time passed on that, and that was maybe a good thing. Okay. But he had posted a shoe where it was like it being part of that whole artifact community. I don't want to get this wrong, but he had gotten a shoe that was essentially a actual Nike artifact
physical sneaker,
physical shoe.
Yeah.
It looked like a really bad custom.
Yeah.
It looked like a painted on custom.
Yeah.
I think there's like Kirby.
There's one with like
guy on the shoe.
Pepperoni pizza. Did you say pink eye or pink guy?
Pink guy. Kirby.
Yeah, I know who Kirby is.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying to the audience, the pink guy, Kirby.
the famous pink guy.
I don't know. I feel like maybe some people now, like younger people, don't know who Kirby is.
Hey, turn this off if you don't know who Kirby is. If you never played Kirby Superstar. What was it? Kirby Superstar? Are you kidding me?
Is it pink?
Are you kidding me?
I don't
proving my theory right in real time.
Hold on, let me see. Is it yellow?
Who do you main in Smash?
What? I don't know. Hold on. Let me look this up.
We're keeping all this in.
Let me look this up.
He's like the vacuum.
Yo, I played
sucks everything
so much Kirby Superstar.
Did I not say the little pink guy?
No, you did, Joe. You
what?
did.
What? So what are you trying to make a big deal out of? I literally said the pink guy.
I just said it was the pink guy, and Brendan's like, "Why do you have to tell anyone it's the pink guy?" And then you literally just say, "Yeah, are you talking about the pink guy, right?"
Well,
and that's why I said I'm explaining it for people. No, but I'm saying I'm just explaining
Kirby
for people.
Superstar was SNES
Okay, I
game.
wasn't paying attention because
Megaton
someone was
Punch?
hitting me for complex con passes. Sorry.
Can we talk about Kirby Superstar for 20 minutes?
Yes,
No.
I don't know it, but go ahead.
The guy's pink.
But either
I
way,
was right. Damn, I didn't know he just said it. Sorry.
Okay.
Hand up.
Okay.
He had
Lot
posted.
going on.
He had posted the shoe that was a custom. Looks like a custom. In there's a feature that Nike had created where you kind of like scan the shoe and it shows
That it's authentic.
proof of ownership.
Yeah.
On it. I guess that's
a
kind
cool feature.
I guess that's kind of cool. And people talk about, like you said, utility of these NFT products. I think that there is a future in the idea of showing proof of ownership in things. I don't think a walrus smoking a cigar was
Here we go.
was
He knew it was
the
coming.
no, but was the intended purpose for any of that stuff?
Yeah.
You know, so all those things you might as well just throw them all away because they're useless. But I do think that there is ways that obviously Nike can game or use the idea of having virtual products.
Yeah. I mean, if they could just rebuild the whole sneakers ecosystem inside this .swoosh thing and make it more fair and equitable and transparent, to me, that's a cool possibility for it. But let's see.
Okay.
Should we give away a pair of sneakers?
Yeah, real life sneakers.
Okay. Every week here on the Complex Sneakers Podcast, we give away a pair of sneakers. Usually some pretty slick shoes, huh?
Some good ones.
What is Welty?
Some good
Some
ones.
sick kicks.
Yeah, sick kicks.
Some good ones.
With our good friends at eBay. You can go to ebay.complex.com to enter to win a pair. You can go there and submit for us a question to respond to here on the air. If we pick your question, if we respond to it on the episode, we're going to send you a free pair of sneakers courtesy of eBay and their authenticity guarantee program. It's only open to U.S. residents, okay?
Sorry. Yes. Today's question comes from Jalen Flores, Philadelphia.
That's in the U.S.
Yeah, little trip. What's the best Christmas or holiday themed shoe of all time?
I don't have a lot of picks for this.
Me either. You know, I like the Christmas LeBrons that he wears. I
The
think there was
LeBron
a
8 was pretty good.
Yeah, I talked to 7 as well. You brought up one. I don't want
Grinch
to steal your
Kobe's?
thunder. Grinch Kobe's.
Not my
though.
favorite, but I think that's one of the best
That's
ones.
just definitely up there.
Welty?
Oh, I think you guys are maybe not thinking maybe too much in Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay.
What, the dunk?
Dia de los Muertos done?
Hold on.
Oh, I mean that one.
That
Could,
would
Oh,
probably be my
oh,
favorite, like holiday
oh,
overall,
okay.
like,
Day
because
the Dead
I
dunks?
wanted those a lot
Well,
as
I
a
still want
17-year-old.
those.
There's a huge
Still want those.
There's a huge holiday that we're forgetting. Personal favorite holiday.
Oh, Easter.
Easter.
Yes, Easter Air Force Ones.
But I'm not talking about Easter Air Force One.
Easter
Easter-
180s.
Easter Air Max 180s
There
are
we
my
go.
personal favorite holiday shoe.
Okay.
He has risen.
Yes.
All right.
That's a good one.
You going to break them out?
I don't have a
Air
pair.
bubble going
I
to
was-
crumble?
I don't have a pair. My
right
friend
before
Dave had
the
a pair.
antipasto? Sorry.
Listen, apologies to my mom, but I was totally forgetting about Easter, but I'm glad you brought it up. Those are probably the best. Easter Air Force Ones, that whole,
05
all
or
that
06?
pastel stuff. There's the pairs were slightly different.
05, it's like a little more. The colors aren't as bright. 06, they're just a little darker.
I'll take 06.
I like 05. But
You made the right call. Easter it is.
Good one.
And the sneakers we are giving away.
I don't know. Let's see.
What's the person's name? Jalen?
Oh, Jalen.
Special shoe.
Jalen.
This is the. I actually hit on sneakers on these. This
Wow.
was a good moment. A lot of people hit on these on sneakers. This is the blue, off-white, Air Jordan 1 with the zip tie on there.
Leave it on if you want. Take it off if you want. It's up to you.
Same goes for the eBay tag. Can you see that?
So, man, Babs got it.
That's important.
Great shoe.
All right.
Great colorway.
did we ever come around on this? Our good friend Trinidad James, speaking of holiday shoes, Mummy. Remember Mummy Nike SBs?
That's not a
needed-
good holiday shoe.
He needed like 1 million pairs of them, and he tried to convincing us
A lot
it
of
was
people
like
like that.
it was like the
Mummy
best
dunk.
shoe ever.
Oh, remember that? You know what I did like in that same vein was a few years back that Mummy
Air Max 95.
95. Those were kind of
nice.
good, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
This
Was it
Mummy-
a Mummy pair, or was it just like a
It was kind of had like the wrap on it, and
Yeah.
it had the eyeball. on the
goblin
tongue.
ghoul zombie
Yep.
with no conscience?
Yeah, the Mummy Dunk from 2021. Still not. Still a no.
Forgettable.
Not for me.
Glad we got that solved.
Glad we're sending
Jalen.
these off to Jalen. Enjoy those.
Philly. It'll get there quick.
So, by the way, we have a very special guest today.
Oh, we're elevating a little bit. You
Uh-huh.
know? Sometimes
To the C-suite?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's bring on our guest.
Our guest on today's podcast has worked at Reebok for over 30 years, where he started as an intern. Over his 3 decades at Reebok, he's been a centerpiece in every facet of the brand's marketing, innovation, and overall business initiatives. The G-Unit S. Carter era, he was there. The Allen Iverson era, he was there. The Pharrell ice cream era, he was there. In September of this year, he was announced as the new CEO of Reebok, capping off an impressive run that somehow is still just getting started. We want to welcome to the Complex Sneakers podcast, the CEO of Reebok, Todd Krinsky. Welcome, Todd.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
How you doing?
I'm great. Glad to be here.
Thanks so much for joining. Big guest. We have a lot of guests, but I don't know. CEO, have we had CEOs?
No, maybe people who are like CEO. You know, when you have like a reseller business and you're like, I'm the CEO of
Everyone
like
Their LinkedIn profile says CEO.
yeah, or their IG handle is like CEO of I was gonna make up some sneaker resale business, but I can't think of one without offending somebody.
Is it cool? Is it cool
Flaming
these
hype.
days? Is it cool these days to be CEO or creative director? What do you think?
CEO, I think.
Must be nice.
Creative director is a little more trendy, I think.
Yeah.
But CEO, you got to deal with more stuff. I think that's the difference. Yeah.
It's got to feel good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
No, it feels good. It's been a crazy journey. Actually, the first job was I started in the mailroom.
He was saying that. He
Yeah.
was saying that.
So, my journey, I literally started selling sneakers at 16, working at Foot Locker. That's why I fell in love with it. I just fell in love, like, the action of being on the floor, and selling shoes.
Yeah.
And so this is where I first fell in love with it. And then I went to school. And when I was at school, I continued to work at Foot Locker. And then when I got out of school and graduated, I got this opportunity to go work at Reebok in the mailroom, which my parents were really happy about. My first gig. I got a job with a big company.
Did it feel like a big deal to you?
Well, it didn't until I was there the first day. So the first day they were like, I show up in a 3-piece suit, and they're like,
To work in the mailroom.
It
Did
wasn't
you have
even wear-
sneakers on?
Well, wait, yeah,
Okay.
no, I didn't have sneakers on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had straight shoes, and I go to the mailroom, and they're like, actually, we're sending you to the warehouse today. So I'm getting lower as we go. It wasn't an intern. It wasn't the mailroom. It
In
was
the
actually
suit, fitted.
So I go there, 3-piece suit. The vest, the whole
vest.
thing, man. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna pack T-shirts for like the NFC championship game or something. And so I was like, all right. And there's like, I don't know, 10,000 T-shirts, these boxes. So I start packing them, and then I think like every single warehouse employee started walking by just to see who is this square that rolled in here in a 3-piece suit to work with us. They're all walking by. So it wasn't my finest moment. But then, yeah, man, I worked in the mailroom for like, over a year. But it was really cool because back then, I also had to send a lot of the tech packs overseas because there was back in the day, you couldn't attach these big files. So literally what I was doing every day, I was working at Foot Locker at night. And then during the day after delivering mail, I was taking all the designers' designs and tech packs.
Yeah.
And I was faxing them page by page
To the factories?
by page to the factories. And I'm sitting there like learning all this shit. I'm like,
What year is this?
This is like 93.
Okay.
So this is like the golden era of like Reebok innovation. So
Yeah.
I'm sending over pump tech packs and, all this training back in the day, early training stuff and Shaq product. And a lot of the OG designers, like E. Scott and these guys would let me just sit at their desk. This young kid would ask questions. So I'm like, why did you do this here? And what's the blueprint here? And I'm just like, loving it.
Sponge, just
Sponge,
absorbing
man.
everything.
Yeah.
What was it like? You said sitting with the designers, being with Stephen Smith back
Yeah,
then in his OG era.
I mean, he was super crazy back then.
What do you mean back then?
Yeah, it's consistent.
Yeah.
It's consistent. But he was part of that generation that like those guys loved what they did, man. Like I'm not saying designers don't today, but they really loved it. And so if a young kid who was selling shoes at night came over to him and was like, "Yo, let's talk about this. How does this work? Why did you put the blueprint like this, or why did you change this design, or why are you using this material?" They love to take you through the whole process. So it was pretty cool just to kind of learn from there. And then what I did is I figured out like how long I could actually work without getting paid with just my Foot Locker money.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I put a coupon in every mailbox of every employee in the company. And the coupon was like, Todd Krinsky will work 30 days for free. Try me.
That's ill.
Try me. I still have the coupon.
That's ill.
And nobody actually took me up on that because I'm sure legally it wasn't
Yeah.
cool. But I got a lot of awareness, and then it did move into someone hiring me for an associate product development manager job where I was working on tennis in 94.
I love stories like that because I was working at Finish Line nights and 2 days a week here at Complex. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and it was like the whole thing was you're filling in the passion that, like, obviously I wanted to work here full time. You're doing that in the off hours as much as you can, mixed with like retail. But retail was just like, you know, the stop between
Way to pay the bills.
Yeah, how long? You know, I interned for like 2 years, but yeah, it was like totally get it.
Yeah.
Speaking of 1994, you have on Instapump Furies, but is that the actual Chanel? That's
Oh, wow.
I felt obligated to come with something that
He
I
knew
never,
there was a close-up
We gotta talk
coming.
about the
Listen,
shoes we're
wow.
wearing real quick.
I never pull them out, but these are the originals from 2000.
Chanel, Reebok.
I think we gave them a full page in Complex, I believe.
Yeah. So I knew somebody, she was working on the project. It was like just for runway. And then there was never released, but there was this small little friends and family.
How many pairs made? Do you know?
It was really small. I don't know.
30.
Wow.
I think it was under 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's raining out in New York. He's on timing?
This is commitment, man. This is commitment.
I was confused because when you walked in,
Yeah.
I was like, I think that in my head, I was like, I think that's the Chanel. But then I looked down and like, because obviously you've had the shoes for a while and like the toe box like a little like crease. But in my head, I'm like, there's no way you're just breaking out some beaters to come on, you know, on the show. And then I'm like, then I saw that.
This has got the Chanel in the back, and I've only worn them a few times, but I think it's more just like over time.
The shoe's old.
The shoe's old, man.
That looks great.
Yeah.
That is a great shoe.
Yeah.
Everything, colorway, the little like branding Chanel on the tongue.
I think that the heel Chanel is sick.
And then Concepts like
They redid it.
Yeah.
As a homage to it without the branding with the C, and it was cool. Same colorway.
We got to talk about all the shoes.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a step down from that. But I'm doing Reeboks today. This is a custom pair. Welty brought out the custom Stan Smiths last week, so it's a custom Bach Boys with that FSR logo.
Oh yeah. Nice.
On DS?
I think I wore these once before. Although maybe, I wore them once before. I can't remember what the special occasion was.
Looking crispy. I'm doing my Solomon XT4 tie-dyes. Raining in the city, so these are kind of like my
It's
go-to.
a staple for you. Yeah.
Nice.
I did these. I'm trying to think when this is coming out.
I know. We were recording this episode
Last
early
week,
as per usual.
I did these last week on the Fat Joe full size run.
Yeah.
I actually wore a pair of Jordans.
Wow.
Huge.
Yeah.
What a moment in sneaker history.
These are the shelf life Air Jordan 2 lows.
Very nice.
I like them a lot.
Very nice.
Clean.
Todd, let's get back into your Reebok journey. When was the first time you saw guys like Shaq or AI coming around the office?
Well, in '92 when I was in the mailroom, they signed Shaq, and they had this big tent in our old campus, and I snuck into it, met him, shook his hand. I was I said, yo, one day I'm going to work with you, and I ended up working with him. And then, as fate would have it, the craziest thing is when I got the role, the new role of CEO, it wasn't official and I wasn't 100%. And the night before they gave me the news, he FaceTimed me. And he thought I already knew.
Wow.
So
He broke the news to you?
Yeah. And I mean, I have some of the people at Authentic kind of hinted towards it. So I kind of had an idea, you know, because they've been really supportive. But yeah, man, so I'm on this FaceTime in my kitchen. I'm like, yo, what's up? And he's like, hey, told you what happened. Congrats. I was like, what? And then he knew that I didn't know. And he's like, I gotta go. Hangs up the phone.
Wow.
You could see his face, like he was like, oh shit, he doesn't know yet. And so then he called me subsequently, like that weekend. So it was cool. So it was just funny because he is the first athlete I met in '92, and then he's now part owner of the company. So it's pretty surreal. The whole journey is surreal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how all that stuff is linked in. I know we're kind of jumping around on the timeline here, but Shaq is a part investor in ABG, which just acquired Reebok, so it's all connected.
Yeah, and this has like been a passion for him to own Reebok for a really long time. So he's been really driving the Authentic Group to get involved. He was the driving force behind it, really, continuing to, every time the rumor came the Reebok was for sale, he was texting me, he was calling them. So he's about it. He's very active now. He's texting me with ideas weekly.
Wow.
What he thinks we should
Wasn't there the story when he was getting recruited for the brands back in the day that he showed up to the Nike campus wearing all Reebok?
Yeah, he wore this like leather Reebok jacket to Nike campus because he'd already made his decision. He was like, I'm gonna go out there and I'm show him this is the way Shaq is, you know. Yeah.
I love that. And that's also that era too of Michael Jordan showing up to the Olympics and covering up the Reebok logo with the American flag. Like that's like
do you remember what it was like inside like Reebok HQ when like those moments were like transpiring?
You know, it's really funny because there was a crazy energy in the building back in those 90s because it was very competitive. It was more Paul Fireman, who was just such an amazing risk-taking entrepreneur, and he created the whole vibe in the building that it was okay to take risk and to be a little disruptive. And I do remember like it was like being on a team. Like it was very competitive back then. You know, even when we were getting AI. The company was on like the edge of their seat for like 14 days when we were going through the process because, you know, he had a big connection to John Thompson. John Thompson was on the board of Nike. There was all these rumors. There was crazy. There wasn't social media. So the rumors were like crazy. Oh, Nike has a shoe.
Nike designed a shoe.
Nike has a shoe.
Yeah,
Bubba Chuck.
Yeah.
You know, back then though, it's like you can't Google that. So, you know, you were just hearing it word of mouth and it's kind of like surreal and everyone's getting all this information. And so it was a time where the energy was really high. There was a lot of competition, and it's a little different today. There's more players, so it's not like the Nike, Reebok, Adidas like it was back in the day. It's just a different landscape now. Yeah. But it was a fun time. It was a fun time to learn the business for sure.
I love reading about the era because just it's like almost like the hatred, you know, that you read about like the Phil Knight had for Paul Fireman and like these real shoe dog type battles, you know?
Yeah. It was a battle, and then like, you know, every athlete that rose up, it was like it was like almost like where are they gonna play and who's gonna sign them? Like this was the big thing in culture at the time, you know. It was an arms race. Everybody was trying to get everybody, and then there was this thing where Paul and Phil never really, I think, got along, and they created this competition, which I think was kind of healthy because we all rallied around Paul and Nike rallied around their leader, and it just added to the kind of the action.
Do you think it was like almost like a perfect storm because you mentioned, you know, that was the era of all of the like real innovative shoe designers. You have the energy there, and then you have the athletes as well. And do you think that that's why the early 90s is kind of like that golden era of footwear? Like that's why it got created in that vacuum? Or?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. I think, you know, the early 90s was a period where athletes became larger than life. This was the big game at the time, you know. I mean, and late 80s, you know, there were some deals obviously like Mike, but it wasn't like it was in the early 90s when more guys were getting shoes and tennis became more of a runway and all this. And so it was this perfect storm of like athletes are larger than life. The marketplace is enamored with these big time personalities. And it motivated us to even get faster with innovation because we had the opportunity to have these athletes to promote it. And so we really spent more money in the lab. You know, guys like Steven and guys like Paul Litchfield, they were given more. They were given more autonomy and they were given more investment. And that was another really exciting part of Reebok at the time was the lab because they were coming up with crazy shit all the time. You know, it became like the heartbeat for the company. We couldn't launch everything. But I mean, you know, that's where DMX moving air at the time, and obviously all these variations of pump, and then the honeycomb cushioning with Hexalite, like they were just constantly coming up with new innovation, and we were getting into more and more sport, you know, so it was a chance to kind of figure out how to make athletes better in every sport. So yeah, man, I definitely like to say it was the golden era for sure. And for me, I also moved overseas during that period. Which I never expected to do. But I moved to South Korea for 3 years, so I was on the manufacturing side of what was coming over.
Wow.
So for my first 4 years, I was in the States. I was, you know, learning the business. I was understanding the marketplace. I was in the stores a lot, in the Foot Lockers. And then I moved over to Asia, where I was the recipient of the designs coming. So
that's such a cool moment, too, of your journey, because a few years earlier, you were the intern helping fax the tech packs over to the factories in Asia. And now you're actually in the factories in Asia helping.
Exactly. What was your parents' reaction? Because, you know, you talked about, you know, hey, I'm going to go work in the mailroom. And then all of a sudden, hey, I'm moving to South Korea.
Yeah. And we hadn't really left the country much. We weren't like travelers. So it was like it's my first time really, you know, out of the country outside of going to Toronto. So it was kind of like they were like, what are you going to do? Like, are you just going to get a normal job? Like, can we just do that? Like, this was the big conversation.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And so, I explained to them what I was going to do, and I wasn't going to do it forever. And I mean, they were definitely supportive, but they didn't understand at all what I was doing. But it was an amazing time to learn. I learned. I mean, in my 30 years, that 3-year period is where I learned the most in my career.
What was that like when you first stepped foot in a sneaker factory?
So this was actually pretty cool. This was a prototype center. It wasn't a full factory.
Okay.
So this is where we had some of the most skilled kind of model builders, lasters, mold people, all in this one area in South Korea. And what we would do is we would make the prototype. The U.S. would confirm it, and then we would transfer it to a factory for production. So we were actually like this state-of-the-art facility that was making the one-of-one prototype that would get confirmed, and then it would be transferred. So it was really cool. I was learning from the best. I mean, some of these kind of pattern builders and last builders and mold builders in Korea are so amazing at their craft, and they would teach me. So I was just in a sample room every day, learning how to do everything, sewing, stitching, everything. I learned everything firsthand. And it was also a Renaissance period. So this is like, mid-90s. So all
that tech you were just talking about.
It's all coming over. It's all coming over. And we're building the shoes and trial and error. So it was a pretty amazing period. Yeah.
A little later, we were talking about, the race to kind of sign athletes and AI and Shaq. But around like 2003, LeBron is in high school. Mm-hmm. LeBron was wearing Reebok Questions, I'm sure, obviously the green and white ones. And I think even the McDonald's All-American game, he wore a pair of Reebok Questions. How close were you to signing LeBron? Were you guys heavily in the conversation or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were. One thing also is, I don't know, Allen Iverson and LeBron are really very close, especially when LeBron first came in the league. They were very close. And so we had that angle as well.
AI was working it for you?
He was working it for us, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was talking to him. That was a situation where, and I think LeBron has talked about it on one of his platforms recently, but he came to Boston. We had an amazing presentation.
You were obviously were.
Yeah, I was part of it. Yeah. We went, I think he had already visited Nike. And we went into the boardroom, this big boardroom, and Paul Fireman used to have this desk that I think Mav Carter and LeBron talk about it. It was the size of the studio.
Wow.
It's just heavy.
They still have the desk in the Reebok archives.
I think so. Yeah. It was like a legendary, like where all the decisions happen. And we go in there and, Paul was one for the theatrics. He was the best salesman in the world. And, we made an offer to LeBron right there. It was
How much do you
now
remember?
it's like,
Was it rumored 110 million or is that just
I think everyone has a story. I can tell you I can tell you what I remember.
Yeah.
But what had happened was it was getting dark at this point. It was later at night now. We'd been there all day. And so we're sitting around this table and Paul offers him, I believe it was 90 million. Okay, at the time. And then Paul stands up and he's got this tweed blazer on and he walks around the table behind LeBron. We're all like, what is he doing? It was kind of like, what was that? Elliot Ness, when he walks around the table, he's got the baseball bat, De Niro. And he walks around and he says, but if you guys sign with me today, and he says, I think he said to Gloria, to LeBron's wife, like, what's the name of your bank or something, And this is the theatrics, you know? And she says, I don't know, Akron Trust or whatever. And he says, okay. And he pulls out a check. And he goes, this is a live check, not part of the contract. This is a live check for $10 million. And, so he hasn't played yet in the league. This is like, right?
Yeah.
And I'm across the table and I see this check go out in front. And he goes, if you sign with us tonight, you can take this check back to Akron Trust in the morning and deposit it. And we're all like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like that was a move.
Yeah.
Also not telling his staff.
Yeah, didn't tell anyone.
Because he wanted the moment.
Wow.
Yeah. So what I remember about it, and this is how I remember it, is I'm across from these guys and I see like, his mom kind of, she's trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
She's kind of like, oof. I see Mav and he's kind of unbuttoning his shirt. He's kind of like, getting some air. And I see LeBron stoic. Like literally not even phased.
He wasn't impressed, or
it's not that he wasn't impressed. It's like
poker face almost?
I think poker face, but also I think, and I've only had 2 athletes in my life that I have worked with that I had this feeling when I saw them the first time is like, it's just like he knew everything that was coming to him and he was ready for it. It was just this confidence. It wasn't arrogance, or he was super polite and respectful. You just look in his eye and I'm like, this kid is ready for everything. And he's not being fazed by what's in front of him.
Where do you think, if you had like a time machine or whatever, if Reebok had signed LeBron, where do you think Reebok is now? Like if he had been part of the brand all these years, what do you think it would have done for the company?
It's a hard, no, it's not hard. It's a difficult question to answer because I think it would have changed the game. I think that, Allen brought a certain dimension to Reebok, but LeBron was the next guy. And I think that he was the next guy that had a really strong position in the sneaker game, or was going to. And I think that if he had made that statement to come to Reebok, I think it would have changed our position in basketball forever. I think we had a good run in basketball, which we'll probably talk about, what's going on there. But I think it would have been transformational for Reebok if he had signed with us, for sure.
Do you remember when you got the heads up that it wasn't happening?
So what ended up happening, so he didn't accept the check, and he asked if we would leave the room. And so we left the room. We went into Paul's office. And it felt like a lifetime, but it was like 45 minutes. And Paul was like, what could they be discussing?
Yeah.
And we go back in, and then they basically said that they had to honor a meeting with Adidas, actually. Sonny Vaccaro was with Adidas at the time, and they had to honor a meeting with Sonny up in Malibu, I think, so they were flying there. So they went and did that, and then they had a subsequent follow-up with Nike, where the rumor is Nike matched the 100. That was the check plus the deal. And so we found out, I think, that weekend. I think this was on a Wednesday. He went to Thursday over there, and we found out over the weekend. So, but listen, this is the game, man. I had a similar situation with Kobe, those are the two that got away. And Kobe, we had a very similar situation where we pitched him. We had a great meeting with him.
That's before he signed to Adidas?
This is after, when he was the free agent period.
I think he was wearing...
He was wearing like PE question, the yellow toe questions,
in that time,
and purple questions, and he came to Reebok, and we did a pitch for him that was really good. The only athlete that's ever come to Reebok that demanded a facility for a 2-hour workout before the meeting.
Wow.
So he comes to our gym. Wow. He comes to our gym with his trainer, and we have a big basketball court in the middle of the office. 2 hours straight. I think he went for water once. We were like,
were you with him shooting
mesmerized? Was I just not for that one? I was watching, and it was amazing.
Wow.
And then we had the meeting, and it was a really good meeting. And then and then what ended up happening was he too. We were really, really close. I think it was an All-Star game in Atlanta where I was bringing Paul Fireman to meet him, and it was like it was going to happen. And then that one kind of went left late at night after the All-Star game on Sunday, and I started to get a feeling that it wasn't going to happen. But one thing I will say, I did want to say one thing about LeBron and Kobe, but after it didn't happen, the NBA Summer League was in Boston, and so we went the first night, and I was on the court, and LeBron was there, and so I'm talking to a friend of mine, and this bear hug comes up behind me, and I turn around, it's LeBron, and he says, "Hey, I just want to let you know, man, guys give an amazing presentation. It's just business."
Wow. That's
19 or 18.
Yeah.
Right?
Wise beyond his years.
The maturity.
The maturity to he doesn't have to say anything to me. And he was just like, you guys gave a great presentation. I really enjoyed being with you guys. It's just business and, no hard feelings. And I was like, wow, this kid's like 18. And I think that's what he's doing today in his life and his career and his family and everything these guys are doing. It's not a coincidence. It's because this is the type of person he is. And then Kobe said something similar. I bumped into him in the following year in an elevator. And he did a double take with me. He was like, "Oh, wait." And I was like, he's like, "Hey, you guys, great presentations." So anyway, great presentations are good, but it ain't what you want. But then we had great wins like Al Iverson and Jay-Z and others. So it's part of the business.
And one thing, so you miss out on LeBron in 2003. And then in 2003, you signed 50 Cent and Jay-Z. And 50 has said that it was a response to missing out on LeBron. Is that true? Because like it's a great pivot that you guys saw. Like, all right, we missed out on LeBron, and now we have these two hip hop heavyweights who don't have a shoe deal at the right time. And then, you know, the G Unit sneaker deal, obviously one of like my favorite sneaker deals of all time. My mom waited in line at the mall when I was at college for them. And then even on sneaker shopping, whenever it comes up, it's like just the day is made. But talk about that deal. And was it in response to missing out on LeBron, kind of like that pivot or what?
Well, I think there was this like lull when LeBron didn't happen. There was also a couple years earlier, there was an NBA strike in '99. I think there was 50-game strike. So like there weren't players playing and there weren't shoes on court. And it was a weird time. And this was also the time where Paul Fireman had just come back in because he had kind of taken a break. And he was like, I don't feel the energy in this building now. And so it was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And then we had this conversation in his room in his boardroom about how, you know, music artists are becoming more influential than ever.
Yep.
And this was that Renaissance period of kind of 90s and 2000 hip hop. And so he was like, well, what do we do? What do we do? Is what he says, you know? And we were like, well, there's one guy that we really feel moves culture, but probably not going to happen, you know? And he's like, who is it? And we were like, it's a couple of us, like, it's Jay-Z. And we happened to be working with Steve Stout at the time. And he was kind of working on the marketing with us. And Steve was in the, you know, he had just left music and he was now in advertising. Yeah. And he was like, well, I can get us a meeting with Jay. And the next day, I'm in Stout's office and Jay walks in, literally the next day. And then like, you know, when Jay, I've worked with a lot of athletes, but when Jay walked in, it was somewhat of a surreal moment, you know, just being the same age and really having so much respect for him. And then we ended up having like an hour conversation about just, it went right to sneakers. Yeah. It went right to the era of like the Gucci sneaker. And
so that idea for
tennis
the Gucci
classic,
tennis
takeoff
was
right there.
Because
I asked him like, well, what would you like to create? What do you like? And he was like, well, what I've always really liked was the most unattainable sneaker is this Gucci sneaker. And I knew the shoe, so we started to really have a conversation about it. And you know, then we kind of parted ways, and then the deal happened really fast. Like he wanted to do it, we wanted to do it. We had an idea, and I remember. You know, we were in New York and we were taking a Sprinter to Philly for an appearance at a store we had in Philly at the time. And, you know, there was a lot of conversation about whether this was going to work.
Yeah.
Because even though it's Jay-Z, this hadn't really worked. I mean, Run DMC was promoting Adidas, but there hadn't really been...
there was a long time before there were those big hip-hop sneaker brand partnerships.
Exactly, yeah. So we're pulling up to the Philly store and he's like, I know how to sell music. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And then we pull up and there's, I don't know, like 10,000 people outside. The whole block is shut down. And he turns back to me and he goes, I think this is going to work.
Wow.
And then I think it was one of the fastest sellings. I think we sold 15,000 pairs in 2 days or something like that.
What was that conversation?
Pre-online and e-commerce, right?
Yeah.
When you had the idea that basically you wanted to copy the Gucci sneaker, that were like, hey, we're basically going to knock off this already pre-existing shoe. Was everyone cool, or were you a bit worried about doing that? Well, I mean, we like to say we took inspiration.
Jay literally said, if you upset, then sue me.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah.
He did say that.
He can say that. Yeah. We had our designers.
What did he say? So I sampled the old Gucci shoe. If you upset,
sue me. Yeah.
Took the soul off the old Gucci. If you upset, then sue me.
Because he did an S. Carter mixtape.
Yeah.
Which was amazing promotion.
Yes.
And he mentioned it in there. I would say we felt okay because we were doing our own version of it. We had designers kind of look at how we could change it a little bit. So, but we knew it was the right shoe because it was the story. Mm-hmm. I still think even today, one of the problems with collaborations and artists is there isn't enough storytelling. Mm. And I think with Jay, he was in love with that product. He was in love with what it represented. So the fact that he could work with $1 billion company to create that, I think was special, and I think it was meaningful, and I think people understood it.
Mm-hmm.
But you also were able. Were able to take the Jay-Z thing and shift it to basketball, and you had Jamal Crawford as the signature
crossover mid, right?
Crossover mid, yeah. So what happened was, he was so big in sport, and everywhere he went, everywhere we were in appearances, athletes would just come to see him.
and he had a strong connection to basketball. So like, why don't we try this? And so we're like, what kind of athlete would we want? And Jamal Crawford, kind of that smooth, kind of 2-guard type player, fit the profile. We actually did an ad too. We did an ad where he was kind of the GM in the back, and Jamal Crawford was playing. And we did an S Carter mid with a strap. It did really well. A couple other players wore it too, like Kenyon Martin, a bunch of other guys wore it as well. Yeah.
Did you sign 50 Cent before or after the Reebok deal happened? I feel like they were
after the J deal.
After the J deal.
It was slightly after.
Yeah.
It was slightly after, and Jay was cool with it. And
how were those meetings?
50 meetings?
Yeah.
It's very interesting. They both were very interested in the business, but Jay was very interested in like a methodical approach, like supply and demand. You'd say to Jay, hey, we're going to do 2 colors, and then, usually you launch a 3rd color. This is what you do. And he's like, why? Why are we doing a 3rd color? Like, he taught me a lot even back then to kind of like challenge the norm, because he didn't want to fall into any of the way the game is played. So he's like, okay, a basketball player may have 3 drops before a holiday. Let's do something different, So he was very methodical. He was very into supply and demand. He was very into distribution. Like, where are we selling this? And, let's talk about where we're going to put it around the world. And 50 was also incredibly immersed in the business. Like, he came to every meeting on time, ready to go. And his first question every meeting was, how many pairs we sell this week? I'm not exaggerating. How many pairs we sell this week?
How many pairs were you selling?
We were selling a lot.
Yeah.
10,000?
No, we were selling like, 40, 50,000 per color at a time.
A week?
We actually, no, for like the season.
Yeah,
the season.
okay. Yeah.
But like, there was one, and he was always say, well, how many Jordan sell this week?
I love it.
I'm telling you, he was literally asking that every week. And, or every time we had a meeting. And so one time, I think it was like 2005, we had a black GXT trainer, which was based off of
the trainer.
The GXT trainer was a mid-cut.
Yeah.
And it was based off one of our old trainers that he saw and was like, yo, I like that aesthetic. And so we redesigned it as a GXT trainer. And I remember that back to school, we sold like on one color, like a lot, like 75,000 pairs or something. And it was close to what, and I'm not saying, by the way, that G-Unit was ever close to Jordan anyway.
Sure.
I'm saying in that one moment in time, that one colorway, I think we sold in almost as many pairs as the Jordan launch for that period.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I remember telling him, and he was like, I told you guys. So you guys didn't believe me. You thought I was crazy. Every time I came in here, I would ask that. But I think what made him also what made it work was he was very engaged in the business. He's really, really smart. He's very committed. But he would say things like, he would ask what's going on. I would say, we're not selling as well on the West Coast. And he'd be like, okay, I'm doing 9 shows out there next week. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
What do I gotta do? What store do you want me to go to? What do you want me to have more people come backstage with? Like, he was just a businessman.
It's just etched in my brain. I think Rock the Mic tour. I think Reebok had the NFL jerseys at the time too. And I just remember being at Jones Beach, Rock the Mic tour.
Yes.
Blue.
I was there for that. Yes.
Blue Giants jersey.
Yeah.
With the Reebok logo and the Reebok
and
sneakers.
The giant flag on the sneaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh man, I remember that. And then to your point about promotion, all in the video and just.
Were you there for the commercial shoot with the 2 of them together?
I was, yeah. That was
iconic.
Yeah, very
it's just
iconic.
the yellow and Carolina blue hat and the hoodie. I just remember it. Yeah.
Jay-Z and 50 Cent, like they've never actually done a record together, right?
No, that was I think the only thing they ever did together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there that night. Yeah.
What was that like?
It was first I saw what everyone says about Jay. I saw him not write anything and do the whole ad in one take. Which you read about and you see it and you're like, holy shit,
this is actually it. Yeah,
this is actually how it works. And I think it was really there was a lot of energy because like even though they're established artists, it was exciting, man. Like we created a new business together.
Yeah,
and they were pioneers in it now, and I think they realized it. So it was a we're used to just basketball players doing TV ads. Now you've got like a music video in a studio and you're promoting sneakers. And for like these music artists, it was a brand new kind of avenue and accomplishment. So it was a lot of energy. It was fun.
Were you hyped when you heard those lyrics for the first time?
Oh yeah. I mean, that was the other part that we realized about like working with artists versus basketball players is it comes with this built-in promotion, a mixtape, or I'm doing a video next week. So like, it was just like, so obviously we were spending money to market it, but you know, they were living with the brand everywhere they went, everything they did. So if they're doing shows, if they're doing a music video, if they're doing a new mixtape, it's organically comes up. And that was kind of the magic of it.
Can't believe Reebok did a deal with a psycho.
Stunt 101.
That's actually my favorite. Because I'll tell you why it's funny is because
and Banks in the same song, fresh off the jet, then I breeze to the beaches, blue Yankee fitted G-Unit sneakers. But yeah, in the hood they say 50, man, your sneaker look right, yo. Just can't believe Reebok did a deal with a psycho.
And the thing about that is, you know, there was a lot of people scared at Reebok that I worked for.
Yeah.
So that was a real
So
feeling.
that lyric really didn't help me. That lyric really didn't help me.
Really? People were upset?
Oh yeah. They were all like, because there was only a few of us that were really championing, driving this business, you know, and really believing in it. It was myself, and there was a guy you guys made, Q Gaskins, who was a partner of mine at the time. Like, we really believed in this. We were driving it. But there was a whole part of the company that didn't understand it. Like, we're a sports company. Like, we're an athletic company. We should be making shoes for tennis players and figuring out the next step in basketball and running. What is this, you know? And we were like, no, we're a youth culture sportswear brand. This is where the kid is. This is what the action is. And then when he came out with that lyric, they were like, "See, told you." Even he thinks he's a psycho. I'm like, no, it's a lyric, man. It's not really what he's saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you had to live with that. But so it was a lot of stress because, you know, there were things that happened, you know, and we had to deal with them and decided we're going to keep moving forward.
Right.
And that was a risk for sure.
Todd, around that same time, I guess it's something that I guess maybe personally I'm a little fascinated with. I think around 2002, when the Air Jordan 17 came out, it really pissed off Foot Locker, and they said, because I think what the price point on the shoe was $200, and they were like, we're not going to sell Nike sneakers anymore, or at least like the premium product. And I feel like I heard at the time that's like when Reebok was basically like, hey, Foot Locker, we'll be like your number one partner right now. Like, because I know it's the same era. Do you remember that? Like, like Reebok getting kind of thrusted into Foot Locker as like the number one brand right now because Nike kind of screwed it up?
Oh, yeah. I think there was other things going on with them and Nike in regards to like allocation or whatever. There's probably other things as well besides the price points. But yeah, they pivoted to us. You know, I think we'd always been known for being like a flexible kind of speed brand in terms of getting product to market. And they knew that about us. So they came and said, hey, would you like to do more with us? And so, yeah, we took advantage of it. I mean, I think they asked us to do certain things we didn't want to do. Like certain products we felt like we weren't going to do that weren't, you know, kind of intrinsically Reebok, that they were trying to fill holes in.
Will you make a Jordan 17?
Or, you know, like Air Force One or something. You know, we were like, no, I mean, we tried to do, I mean, listen, there was a big open cup sole basketball market that they weren't being able to service.
Well, you did the Allen Iverson like Air Force One shoe.
You did do an Air Force One shoe one time.
Yeah, well, we inspired by but it was Allen Iverson. But yes, so I think what I'm saying is that we took advantage of that opportunity for a period of time, and we didn't do everything that was asked. But yeah, we did take some influence for a period. But we knew it wasn't going to last forever either. You know, we knew eventually the brands would figure it out. So
there's one other big Reebok partnership in terms of hip hop artists that never really came to fruition that I have to ask about, because you and I were meant to talk about this a while ago and I kind of never followed up. But what happened with Kanye West and Reebok, and how come that never hit the market in the way it was planned to?
I think
he's off Instagram now, so he's not going to put you on blast.
Yeah, I mean, he came to our office. I think it was 05. Like, I think it was after we were already moving with Ice Cream and Pharrell.
Yeah.
And that was also, you know, Steve Stout had connected us with him as well as Pharrell. I mean, Steve was a key player in all of this getting put together back in the day. And he came with an idea for a product. And it was a Louis Vuitton upper on like an Air Max bottom idea. This was his idea. I mean, he was thinking about sneaker and fashion
way ahead of time,
way back. And we had something similar because the Louis Vuitton shoe at the time the sneaker was really popular. It was like the one with like, it had like stitch lines and perfs in the middle. It was like a very athletic Louis Vuitton product. There was like 3 or 4 colors of it. So we had something similar. And so we kind of showed it to him. Anyway, to make a really long story short, it wasn't going to work. It was like, we couldn't get the deal to work.
It was supposed to be the mascot trainer, right?
Yeah. Well, and so we were still talking to him, so we made some escartas for him, and we went back and forth. But actually, it didn't happen.
Is it true that the shoes ended up getting into the market anyway, and he got a little bit upset about it? I was told I was told that
So you know more than me, man. So what happened was, he came into the office and showed us the shoe.
Yeah.
Okay. And showed us the design.
Right.
And we were like, hey, we have something similar, but obviously we don't have it with an airbag, but we have something similar. And so we showed it to him. And he was like, yeah, this is kind of it, but I would change this. And he kind of like, drew on the shoe with like putting tape on different parts of the shoe to make the pattern change. And we had a couple of designers in there with him.
Luis Navarro, maybe?
Yeah, Lou was in there, and a young kid named Kohei, who's Nike designer now, was in there. And then like we couldn't get the deal done.
Yeah.
Okay. For whatever reason, but that shoe actually, we had already created it. Like it was in the building before he came to the building, and so we released it.
Around the Way was the name of the shoe, I think.
We released it, and he went nuts.
So wait, this is the original design or the one with the S dot with the...
Not the S dot.
Okay,
not
the original.
This is the original design that he came in to show. So this was the Louis Vuitton upper, Air Max bottom, make this shoe. We were like, we can't make this. We got something similar.
One. What's it called?
It was called the Around the Way, I think is what it's called. Something like that. It exists. And I think the name got changed to the Cool Out maybe as well at the time. And so he or one of his guys saw it in a store.
Okay.
And wasn't happy.
They were upset.
He was really upset.
They felt some ownership over the product.
Yeah, and then I got on the phone with him, and he wasn't he wasn't really happy with me.
Yeah.
After that period, I feel like Reebok you guys kind of went like all in. You saw the success of Jay, 50, Pharrell, and you go all in on the artist endorser path, and you just signed this big group of artists.
Yeah.
When you look back at it, you're kind of like, what the hell was going on? You had Daddy Yankee, Nelly, Mike Jones, Lupe Fiasco,
right?
Wayne too, right?
Lil Wayne,
and you had like there was like these ad campaigns with like all of them in it, and then I guess it didn't go the way you guys wanted it to at the time.
Yeah. I was working with J50 and Pharrell, and someone else did the other deals.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
But wait, didn't Daddy Yank? I remember selling Daddy Yank. Did you ever at Foot Locker? I remember Finish Line. We were blowing out at Daddy Yankees, I believe.
So Daddy Yankee actually did okay. He helped design the product. It was kind of soccer inspired. He was really involved. He had his own product. That one did okay. The other ones were just like it was one kind of shoe. They all maybe had a colorway. It wasn't the best model. I think. Listen, at that point we were kind of drunk off the success. And I think we felt like the formula was the formula. And it was almost bulletproof. And it wasn't. Jay worked for a reason. 50 worked for a reason. We didn't talk too much about Pharrell, but Pharrell is so creative, and he was so passionate about ice cream and his vision. I mean, when I met Pharrell for the first time in New York, he had the entire range in his head for ice cream. Like, we're going to do these dollar bills. We're going to do this jewelry one. We're going to do these beepers. We're going to do this 80s culture. Like, everything. He had it. Everything in his head. He drew the ice cream logo on a napkin at the Four Seasons lobby, and we were off to the races.
Wow.
So why those worked. Influential people, very talented in music, but they also have a passion for business and fashion and culture, and those worked. I think after that, though, we got a little bit careless with the attributes we were looking for. And look, they're all great. They're all great. It wasn't their fault. It was probably our fault because we didn't really... We put one product up there maybe, and then had everybody participate with the colorway. We didn't let them all kind of collaborate enough. So it was just it was probably the beginning of the end, and it was probably just a miscalculation on our part. We probably should have just gone with less artists, allowed them to collaborate more on richer product versus how we went about it. But this is, you learn from your kind of mistakes. But I don't think it was honestly, I don't think it was about those artists. I think it was about our strategic decision to try to do too much.
We had the one story too, Brendan, I believe you brought it up when we had Lupe Fiasco on Full Size Run, where he had worn the Nike shoes in the Billboard magazine, and then you guys had gotten really upset with him about it.
I saw what he said, yeah. I don't really remember the details, but I saw what he said, yeah.
I think one of the interesting things about your tenure at Reebok is you've seen so many different phases of the company. And one of the reasons you're here now is because, you know, this latest phase that you're in under the ownership of ABG. Just taking it back before that, do you remember how things at Reebok changed once Adidas acquired the brand and what that whole era felt like?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel great, to be honest. And, you know, I mean, it's not really, I think, an indictment on Adidas. I think, like, you know, they're a big brand trying to run a big global brand, and then they bring another brand in that's basically a competitor. And I think the original idea was, let's have this great kind of American sports brand. Let's have this great European inspired sports brand. And let's kind of go after, you know, Nike, I think at one point was the idea. But there was just too much competition for everything. You know, we had classics, they had classics. We had running, they had running. We were in basketball, they had in basketball. We'd be talking to the same agent sometimes, you know. The agent would get
competing for the same
athletes, and it was just very inefficient. It was very inefficient, and that's when the decision was made that maybe, you know, we should shift Reebok into like a different space, which is when we shifted Reebok into fitness, had Adidas be more sport. You know, we stopped doing as much on the music side. We had athletes like John Wall that they were like, let's transfer, and it broke my heart, you know, because I helped to build, and now I'm, you know, going to John Wall and his agent saying, hey, you know, we're probably not going to make basketball shoes anymore, we're going to Adidas, and so it was a very difficult time, but it was strategically done because they felt like the competition wasn't working. But I think the other problem was just like, you know, Adidas had to make decisions for Adidas first. So if there was a new trend in manufacturing, you know, that was coming on, like a knit upper, for example, that was big for a while.
Yep.
That's not going to go to us first. You know, they're bigger and they're in the pole position. And then, you know, artists too. We'd be talking to a partner and maybe they would think it's better for Adidas. And so we lost out on a lot of things and didn't have as much control. But again, like this was the facts. Like, it's not like they were trying to do anything malicious. They're really good people. It's just that they had a bigger brand to run. And in a lot of places around the world, it was one group running both brands. So it was tough sometimes to get our moment. So it wasn't the best era for us. I think, you know, we were quieter than we usually are. We weren't doing as many disruptive things. You know, we also kind of didn't tap into the archive as much and weren't doing as much on classics. We were doing more in fitness. And there was some great things that came out of it. I mean, you know, working with CrossFit and some of the greatest athletes in the world, and we've become excellent at making training product now. So the Nano and what we do in training and footwear and apparel, some of the best in class in the industry, and that all came through years of working with that community. So it's not like it was a bad time.
Right.
It's just it wasn't allowing us to embrace the full Reebok like we can do now today. So
one of the other artists that came after that era that I think had ups and downs with Reebok, you had Rick Ross.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that era?
I mean, he was a great partner for us. I think really, really like supportive, like whatever we needed. Like, you know, how's this sound? Look, what can I do? What can I do? Great partner. And just got into a situation where, you know, he had a lyric that, like, you know, rubbed people the wrong way. And there was just a decision made that we couldn't continue. And then, you know, eventually he did, you know, I think have an apology for what he said, but it was an unfortunate one, you know, because he was great. He was he had a song with Jay where he mentions, you know,
Reebok's on.
Yeah.
I just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he, you know, again, like great partners that are embracing the brand. That one just turned into a tough PR situation, you know, unfortunately.
I feel like there were a lot of artists around that time too. Like that was the Swizz Beatz era.
Yeah.
You gave Tyga a whole
era.
Yeah. I mean, Swizz was great. I mean, Swizz is one of the most creative people I've ever met. He's a good friend of mine today. You know, he was he was kind of doing creative directing for us before it was really like a cool thing to say you do. Like, he was in the brand. He was talking about partners we should bring in. He was bringing us different collaborations. So he's a visionary. And that was one of the purest, best relationships we had, because the guy's so smart, so creative. So that was a great period for us working with him. Yeah.
Kind of after that, do you remember when you got the first inkling that the Adidas partnership was going to kind of break apart and Reebok was going to get to go its own way again?
I mean, it was rumored for like a couple of years, like off and on. It would get hot, then it would go down again, then it would get hot, and it would go down again. And then it really started to pick up. I think COVID may have accelerated it.
Okay.
You know, and then we got the official word last year that was happening. But the rumor had been going on for quite some time that it was going to happen for probably 2 years.
Yeah, there were like analysts who would say, "Oh, it's starting to happen. Adidas is starting to take apart the business."
In every analyst meeting, it would come up. They'd ask the board, "What are you doing with Reebok? What are you doing with Reebok?"
Was that a weird time for you, just not necessarily knowing what the future of the business was going to be?
Yeah, it was a really difficult time. A lot of us weren't sure, you know, if it was going to get sold. We weren't sure what the future would be if it was sold. You know, some people left during that time, and some people stayed because they thought, oh, if this gets sold, this is a chance to unleash this brand again. I want to be part of that. So a lot of people took the risk to sticking it out. Yeah.
How serious was Master Pete actually buying the company?
I didn't hear much about it other than what you guys read and what I read. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
It was Master P and Barrett Davis, right?
Yeah. I just remember that happening, and people like just were like really convinced that like he was going to buy the company. So.
Yeah. It wasn't really like when we got the list of all the interested parties officially that we had to do our kind of due diligence with, they weren't on it.
Were there any interested parties that never made out there to the public?
No. Baron Davis was part of a group, though.
Okay.
Yeah, he was part of a group. Yeah.
How familiar were you with ABG before they came in and acquired Reebok, and kind of what was that like, building that relationship?
Yeah, I knew them a little bit because of you know, the Shaq relationship. They were representing Shaq, and I knew a few people over there. And then, you know, Nick Woodhouse, who's one of the kind of founders. I knew him before. He's like a shoe dog. You know, he started like retail. He was a buyer for like 20 years. So he's a real shoe guy. So I knew him through the years. So I'd had a little bit of a relationship with some of them. But I mean, the company now is a lot bigger than it was back when I kind of was interacting with them.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting too, because towards like the swan song of Adidas and Reebok splitting up, there was actually an Insta Pump made that had the Boost technology in it. So it's like, oh, Reebok and Adidas are just one happy family, and we're collaborating on the same shoes. And it was so weird for them to co-brand the sneakers, I think, because some people in the public don't even know that they're like the same company. And I'm sure internally you know that, like, hey, this is breaking apart. Why are we putting Boost into a Reebok shoe? Was that like weird to see? Or
it was weird to see. I mean, it was a time where there were a lot of, I don't mean big brands like that, but there were a lot of brands collaborating together for the first time. You know, like I can't remember if it was
it like Gucci and like Balenciaga or something?
Yeah, but there was like a Timberland with a competitor, or I can't remember what it was, but there were brands that were doing things together a little bit. So it wasn't the weirdest thing, but I think, I mean, first of all, the consumer doesn't really know that the brands are one owner. And I think it was like also a time where, you know, things were being discussed about kind of a separation. So it was a weird time to do it. Not one of the greatest products, I think. It did okay, but
I wanted to talk about the like Reebok Classic boom that happened. Like, what would it be at this point? Like, not a decade ago or a little bit more recent? Basically, all the classic models like coming back in such full force.
Yeah.
Like Club C's and workouts and things like that. Well, when did like you see that reemergence happening?
I think it was a build. I think it was in like 2000. It was probably like 2010, I think. Okay. A few of us looked at the range, and it was not Reebok Classic. It was like like whatever was trending. So if there was a driving shoe trending, we would go put a Union Jack on a Reebok. We were just kind of, there was a group that was chasing trends. And so a few of us went in and we were like, we should probably, like, when I was in sports marketing for a while and then moved back into product, and I was like, we should just blow this up, you know, and start over. And so that's what we did. And so we started to look at what's iconic. How do you kind of get a model that's either been out of the market or in low distribution? How do you get it back into the market in the right way? So it was a very methodical approach. So we started looking at the Club C, we started looking at the classic leather, the workout, the ExoFit, and starting to bring it back into the market in very limited distribution with the right, you know, right fashion retailers, some of the right partnerships to start to tell the story. That really was almost like a 10-year journey to get it where it is today, which is where, you know, Club C is now a really strong model. Classic Leather we've just relaunched, and then we have some plans for a few of the others. But I think it's like, it was just a long 10-year kind of road with the right partners, the right distribution, pulling back a lot of distribution to get them kind of back to where they are.
Speaking of those shoes, I think before we go, one thing kind of slipped my mind. I think we should talk about. Can we talk about Cash Money?
Oh yeah, we got it. Yeah. We'd be foolish not to.
Yeah. There was a
the video shoot. Was it the video shoot?
Yeah, I've
Video
seen
shoot.
that video of some Reebok reps going down to New Orleans and interacting with everybody from Cash Money because they were just organically super into Reebok soldieries.
They were organically super into it, and they were doing, I think, a music video. And there was a guy named James Hardaway, who is an OG at Reebok, and he was, I think, like a product manager at the time. And he flew down there, and that's the video, and literally like brought all these classics. They were really wearing the workout. That was the big thing. It was like, you know, Reeboks and Jabos, and it was like that workout with the H-strap with the kind of pant leg that was in style. And like, he went down there and just created like an organic relationship, like no contract, that we were just giving them product. We were, you know, staying in contact with them, and that was just their look. They just loved that look. And I think it started in New Orleans, and even today, classics are the biggest in this country, in the Southeast. It's New Orleans, it's Memphis, it's Atlanta, it's Miami, it's that kind of.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's the biggest area for classics. And I think a lot of it has to do with
that influence,
kind of the influence of New Orleans and kind of Cash Money creating that look. And I think it permeated through other areas of the South.
'Cause that was early on though, but was there any like thoughts back then to be like, oh, we need to give Juvenile a sneaker?
Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of a little before me. I don't know. Yeah. But I know like they were pumping him a lot of product. But it was so before the world.
It's way
we're in
before.
today.
That's like 1998, you know, like
Yeah. So it was literally a couple of years after we had signed Iverson that was going on, which was 96.
Yeah.
Those structures didn't really even exist yet in terms of,
I mean,
like, again, it's like Adidas Run DMC was a predecessor and then not a lot.
I also feel like too, when you're talking about, you know, at the time, like someone like 50 scared Reebok, it's like the Cash Money guys were so much more raw than even G Unit or Jay-Z would ever be. So to like kind of introduce them to the brand at the time would have been super.
Yeah. I don't even think though we had the understanding of how to do a deal with, like those deals just didn't exist. What do you do? Like, I know that I signed a basketball player and they wear the product in the season, you know. I just don't think anyone at that time understood, outside of organically creating a relationship and seeding product. I don't really think anyone understood how could you make this work. It was just so early in the game.
Now that Reebok is owned by ABG, would you say that classics are more the focus? Like, what does the new focus look like for you going forward?
Yeah, I would say that you know, first, one thing that I think has always separated Reebok, is important to Reebok, is kind of fitness and training. This has kind of been a cornerstone of who the brand is and part of our history. And so I think coming out of the era under Adidas, one thing we are taking with us is this idea that we make some of the best training product in the world, you know, and that will stay. So that's kind of our home court, so to speak. And then I think we are going to be embracing classics more, going to the archive more. This is something that we didn't do as much because we weren't talking about classics and emphasizing classics enough. So the retro part of our business is going to become more important. And then I think the other thing we're doing now is we're going to be stressing innovation a little more, and you know, getting back into sport, which is something we're really excited about. I don't think you're going to see us signing 150 athletes and doing it kind of the old sports marketing playbook way, but we are going to look to, do a lot of things we've done before in terms of culture and off the court and the style of the game.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. So I think it's this idea of classics, getting back into sport, still keeping kind of the excellence we're doing in training.
Awesome.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, there's one more thing we wanted to ask you about. How come Brendan Dunne never got a Reebok shoe?
Hey, we can make it happen now, Yeah.
I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about how come
I don't know. Did you interact with me at all during that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I wasn't emailing the right people.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding.
Whatever happened? Did you ever get anything?
Todd left you on red?
Wait, did you?
No, we did a little
Did you do
little content thing.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
So you're unimpressed with the actual gesture?
The apartment with all the boxes. You're in the corner right near the window, right?
Wait, Todd, how did you feel when we were discussing this the other week when Fat Joe ripped the shoe off of the Reebok shoe off Brendan's foot and threw it across the screen?
How'd you feel with that?
I felt like Fat Joe was riding for me.
Yeah.
I felt like he was, he had my back then.
I mean, he's Nike through and through, so. But so what I'm gonna ask you a question. What would be what's the vision? Like all artists.
Listen, this is your Pharrell on a napkin at the Four Seasons lobby right now. Let's see.
That's exactly it.
This is it. It's not the Four Seasons lobby. It's a little different, but
let's go.
I mean, I don't know what it looks like. I feel like I just my name on a shoe.
That's it.
Oh, wow.
Just embroidery in the heel and it's gonna go.
Just something. I think it would.
Should we test that?
Wait,
I'm about it. No more internet talk. I'm about it. Let's do it.
I don't need any money off of this.
Well, he's trying to be Mav now.
You're bringing a consultant.
Just throwing an idea out there.
Okay.
So this week
he's gonna have money.
Yeah.
Or next week, or I don't know how where we're at on the thing. It's ComplexCon.
Right.
ComplexCon, a big thing for brand activations where you can release limited sneakers. Brendan Dunne, face of sneakers.
We're recording this 2 days before ComplexCon.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard for us to.
Yeah, but I'm not saying this year, but ComplexCon every year.
Yeah,
God willing. Brendan Dunne's gonna be doing his thing. Hopefully at the next ComplexCon around sneakers.
Okay.
You got a year out to get something done.
Plenty of time.
Literally, you can maybe do a Dunne shoe. Release it at ComplexCon. Have him there selling the shoes.
Wow, a regular Sonny Vaccaro over here.
I like that.
Broker the deal.
You get a cut of this, or is this just
No, I
free?
said from the start. I just want to see it make it happen. I just want to see it make it happen for him.
So I think the question really is do you need me to bring in creatives for your idea to come forward, or are you going to come to us and say I got it because you have time now?
Yeah, I feel like I can come to you with the CADs.
Okay.
I'll put a tech pack together.
All right. Let's do it.
Can you fax it over to you?
I can fax it to you. I see it better when it's faxed.
Perfect.
Works better for me if it's
Perfect.
faxed.
Awesome. This was great. Thank you so much for joining. What a journey and what a career. And
we so appreciate your time. Especially because, sorry to interject, I do it a lot, but no other sneaker brand is going to have their CEO come on here and talk to us. And we really appreciate Reebok and you making yourselves available to come and talk to us on our level. These other brands,
and awesome
you
stories.
would never... You get some canned quotes from the CEO here and then. You might see him in a press release. You might see him on CNBC or something like that. But this is a Reebok CEO coming to sit with us, and we so appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I'm really happy to do it is because at the end of the day, no matter what things I do with this role, I love product. I love talking to people about products. This is who I grew up. I grew up on it. So, I'm at retail all the time, just talking to kids. Why'd you buy that? Why do you like that? Talking to sales associates, having a chance to talk to you guys about product. Man, this is the part I love. This is the heartbeat of the industry.
Say it again.
Wait,
it is the heartbeat.
Before we go, Todd, before we go, I just have to ask you, who's a bigger shoe dog, you or Nike CEO John Donahoe?
He's more of a shoe dog than John Donahoe.
I would think so, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I would think so.
well, you're going to have a whole thing at ComplexCon next year.
You're going to build out.
Yeah. We look amazing. Thank you so much. Great stories. This was really, really awesome.
Great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Todd.
Thanks.
This has been the Complex Sneakers Podcast. We hope everyone has a great weekend. Please like, subscribe. We will see you next week.